Well, that's not exactly how we drew it up from the offensive side, but that is one of the more ideal pitchers outings. We're going to talk to Mike about it. Why? Because this was vintage baseball all over again. Let's talk about it right now.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, hit a low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
Hey, everybody, and welcome into another edition of Back to the Bullpen. You know we had to come on tonight. Why? Because Framber Valdez saved the bullpen and went a complete 9 innings. I'm H. Wheelhouse. You know where to find me. You know where to find the show. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Find us on iHeartRadio, on X, and on Spotify. Mike, tell everybody where they can find you, sir.
Yeah, there's only one place, and that's going to be on X. That's Mike Stanton 29. What a game this was. If you don't like a whole lot of offense, you like some really good pitching on both sides, that's exactly what we got tonight, a nail biter, and the Astros do it again. Come from behind, even though they didn't have to come far from behind because they were only down 1-0. Still not a whole lot of offense, but Framber was just about as good as we've seen him in a long time.
Well, if there, each season it seems like there are certain teams that have your number, and you experience this in the major leagues when
sure.
It seems like when you played that certain team, you talk about the Orioles and Yankees rivalry was pretty contentious. The Orioles, I remember when they were bad, the Astros couldn't beat them. When the Tigers were bad, the Astros, they went on this horrible streak, but it's always a team that seems to have your number. And, they just went to Tampa. They lost the series there. They come here and they go down 3-0 in the game before. They come back and tie it with a couple solo shots, and then they get absolutely demolished 13-3. And so you're thinking, oh man, here we go again tonight. The Rays,
the roller coaster. Yeah.
And Framber Valdez. Now, he is a pitcher that you and I have talked multiple times about. When he is on and when he is in the groove, he is as good as there is on the mound in major leagues. And also when he sticks with his game mentally. Mike, tonight, he got into a couple situations. He had a few situations where his catcher dropped the ball, allowed runners to advance.
Sure.
There were guideposts in this game that says this game could have got out of control real fast.
I mean, especially he gives up the home run in the first on a front door sinker, and the ball's blasted into the Crawford boxes, and you're like, oh, okay, well, we'll give him that one. I mean, you got to score to win anyways, but Framber, what was so incredible was he, career high in strikeouts in 9. He did go, a complete game going 9 innings. The crazy thing was that he only did it with 83 pitches. I mean, he was incredibly efficient. 59 strikes. I mean, that is an extremely high strike total. And how does he do that? Okay, it's pretty simple. He had the ground ball. He had the worm burners going today. 14 ground ball outs to 1 fly ball out. That was that. And listen, were there some hard hit balls? Sure. But when Framber's got the ground ball, got the sinker going, has got the ground ball coming off the bat, it doesn't matter how hard you hit it. Hit the ball as hard as you freaking want right into the ground. Astros got pretty good defense to cover that.
Yeah, they do. Now, there was a play in the inning where there was a ball that, sometimes you hit it like it's a cue ball, a dribbler in between Framber and Christian Walker. They both kind of approached it like the other was going to get it.
Right.
Walker picks it up, throws it at Framber. It hits him in the shoulder, and he's like, Framber was so mad at himself. And I was like, oh, please don't let this be the moment.
Because we know Framber can be emotional.
Yeah. And I really think that he's taken on the role of like the veteran ace. Now that Justin Verlander is gone, I mean, he is really the most senior guy in this rotation.
Right.
And especially with all the talk you hear from Espada and other people about how, Hunter Brown's our ace or whatever. Framber Valdez is in the last year of his contract before he signs a major deal, his first major deal of his major league career. So he's taking the bull by the horns. I mean, you've got the guy that everybody's talking about, Hunter Brown, being the number one power pitcher, in the league right now in those power rankings. And Framber's using it, I think, those things in a positive way, or he's probably not even thinking about it. He's probably worried about, how do I attack this hitter? How do I get out of this inning? And I think we're seeing more and more him become more mature of a pitcher, and that's such a great advantage for the Astros.
Well, this isn't the first time we've seen maturity from Framber. I mean, go all the way back. It's, okay, it seemed like anything and everything could fluster him.
Right.
I think him and his wife had a baby, and I think, becoming a father, that helped a lot. Just maturity, you have to look at things a little bit differently when you become a parent. But I think that we've seen him off and on, and listen, he's always going to have that threat of the emotions taking over, because that's just who he is. A zebra is not going to change his stripes. That's just,
right.
So what you really look for from Framber is him being able to control those emotions. And he did that very well. There were times that in the past that the stuff has always been there, but he gets flustered, he overthrows, he throws too many pitches up in the zone, and all of a sudden he's getting hit hard. And, today he just did an outstanding job of getting the ball to the bottom part of the zone and getting the ground balls that he's really known for. I mean, he's the most prolific ground ball pitcher in Major League Baseball, and has been for a while now. And it's fun to watch, because when you're on the mound and you have your good sinker, you've got the good curveball, and it doesn't seem like they can get the ball in the air at all, the confidence just goes through the roof that if you do get behind the count, all I got to do is throw my sinker and you're just going to beat it into the ground. That's kind of what happened. 14 ground ball outs is a big number for anyone, but it is a big number for Framber, who gets ground ball outs all the time.
Exactly. Now, the pitcher that the Rays threw at the Astros was getting a lot of calls off the plate. He was pitching a lot of stuff outside, and the Astros went down on 12 straight first pitch strikes in a row. They had been thrown 12 straight first pitch strikes and popped out or grounded out on 12 of them in a row at one time. And I was like, okay, our plan of attack apparently was ambush the pitcher, and it's not working. We got to change it up. But
well, I mean, that's part of what, you teach any hitter at any level is, you want them to be. I could tell you, we used to, especially when I was with Atlanta, it's something that Leo Mazzoni really, really harped on, was first pitch strikes. If they want to swing, let them swing. And I know that there's been some examples. Jose Altuve is one that, a lot of times when he swings and puts the ball in play, he can carry a very high batting average. I mean, there's been times it's been, 380, 390, 400. But Leo used to use a stat that he would use first pitch strikes, not first pitch results, and give us the batting average.
I think you mentioned that on the last
did.
show.
And everybody was under 200.
Wow.
That if you went, if you threw a first pitch strike, okay, and you took it, that's an 0 for 1. Okay, even though you didn't put the ball in play, that was still considered for this stat was an 0 for 1. And the whole reason he did this was just simply because to tell us, get ahead in the count. And, and when you have exceptional stuff, especially you have the serious movement that Framber, and I've said this for years now, that I think Framber has the best stuff on the field, on the team. Maybe he's got some of the best stuff in the league when you look at the total package, not just individual pitches, which we know his curveball is as elite as any curveball in baseball. We know that his sinker is as elite as any sinker in baseball. He's got a very good above average changeup. when you have all this, man, you want the hitter to swing. You want the hitter to put the ball in play, because chances are, it's going to be on the ground. And especially in a night like tonight, it's probably going to be an out.
Yeah, exactly. You love to see that. And I wanted to ask you about Yainer Diaz, because I know Yainer Diaz is getting a lot of grief, him and Caratini both, for not throwing runners out at a higher clip. Tonight you saw Yainer drop a few balls. I can imagine that the curveball is not easy to catch, throughout the game.
I mean, especially because it's elite, meaning, when Framber throws the curveball, when Framber's got the real sinker going, no one else throws that. No one else has that kind of movement. So, even for a professional and a very good receiver like Yainer, it can still catch you by surprise. And here's the other thing. It doesn't always break exactly the same. And so it can be, a little disheartening when he's got his plus stuff that, those are balls that every one of them you would say, Yainer, go, yeah, I should have caught that one. But
I remember
understand.
I remember a while back asking Bracamonte, because had him on the show probably 4 years ago on Locked on Astros.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, would you rather catch what was the example we used? It was shortly after, Lance McCullers had been famous, for the curveballs. Right. Would you rather catch a Lance McCullers curveball or 100-mile-an-hour fastball? And he said, honestly, I know where the fastball is going. Yeah. I don't always know where the curveball is going.
Right.
He goes,
well, especially with Lance, because it doesn't always break the same. So that can be, even though it's the velocity is a little bit less, it's still, it's hard to kind of corral those things.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it just, look, Yainer Diaz has had I think a tough year, because coming into this season, offensively speaking, everybody was like, Yainer's going to be that guy. He's got the best average with run scoring position, and he's going to hit 20+ bombs. Well, now he's at 7. His pop time was elite when he first came up, and he's struggled behind the plate. But it's good for him, because in May, I broke it down on Locked On earlier. In May, he's hitting 298. He's got 5 home runs in May. And I think the more his offensive game picks up, it's probably just going to have positive effects on the defensive end. And what's great, and speak to this, Mike, what kind of advantage do the Astros have, maybe unspoken advantage, to have someone like a Caratini and a Diaz on the same squad?
Well, I think that when you have two guys that has the confidence of the pitching staff, regardless of whether you're throwing really hard or you got really good sinker or really good breaking ball, whatever, that those guys back there are going to be, first, they're going to do all their due diligence. They're going to make sure that they're on top of their game as far as pitch calling. Still, I'm never going to be a fan of the one knee setup. But they do everything they can with.
That's a trend.
It's a trend all over. Not even Major League Baseball, all over baseball, all levels, period, at all levels. That's kind of the new thing. I think it really restricts mobility, but that's a topic for another time. But yeah, I mean, when you have, and this is something the Astros have really done a nice job over the years. You go back to all the Martin 2.1, 2.0, 2.1, they've always had a catcher, a veteran catcher back there that knows the pitching staff, knows the league, and the pitching staff trusts. And the Astros right now have 2 of those guys.
Yeah, shoot. They even have a third string catcher that now doubles as a pitcher. He has a career ERA of 0, and Cesar Salazar last night pitched the 9th inning. But, Yainer Diaz comes in. He missed a couple balls. He blocked them. He didn't catch them cleanly. Yeah. Guy gets to second. Then Meade tries to steal third, because the game before he throws the ball to third base and the ball goes in the outfield, and he nails the runner. And to see Yainer's emotion.
Perfect throw.
is
Perfect
huge. Oh no, it was a perfect throw. And really in catching
and perfect tag. Yeah.
Perfect throw, perfect tag. At first I thought it was a laces, but the more you watch the replay, you could tell the back of the glove got his arm. But
Well, the key to it was a bang bang play. It really could have gone either way. Even when you looked at all the replays, you're not really sure if he touched. But the benefit was the call in the field was out.
Right.
So it didn't have, and you have to have to be overturned. Yes.
Yeah. To be overturned, you have to have 100% proof or evidence that it is the opposite of what you called.
Yeah.
But that's huge too. And it was so awesome whenever they went into the, Framber closed out the ninth. And then they got those first couple outs. And I was like, okay. I was like, the bats owe it to Framber to do this. And then when Yainer gets up, I was about to grab, because we were doing we were doing a playback. I was doing my rally cap. I put on the Jeff Bagwell batting gloves. We were doing the fan thing. And I told Trevor, I was like, dude, I need to get the bat. I need to get Yainer's bat. And I was like, but let me wait for this pitch. And that next pitch, he hit a home run.
Oh, he crushed it too. Oppo. Little Oppo
yeah.
taco action. I mean, it was 8 or 10 rows back to the opposite.
It was a
field.
good shot. Yeah.
And it wasn't a long, majestic. It was just a line drive.
It was a
right
laser.
field, but he hit it out. He hit that ball hard.
And that, to me, these are the kind of games that I think really help this team, because, Mike, this is their 17th come from behind victory.
That's a huge number.
And
you can't, especially for only being, how many games have they played now? Yeah. What is it? 57 games. Yeah. You got 17 come from behind.
Almost half of their games are coming from behind.
Here's the other, it does seem like this team has, a little bit of the cardiac kids going on right now. They have something special because they're never out of it late in the game. This is something we've seen in previous years. Even though this is an anemic offense, they seem to put it together when they need to. I mean, heck, they're 5 games over 500. Here's the crazy thing. They have 10 wins this year when scoring 3 runs or less. 10. That's another huge number. The crazy thing is they've had 30 games that they've scored 3 runs or fewer, and they're 30-20. And you go, well, yeah, that's not a great, but I mean, for having 10 wins when only scoring 3 runs or fewer, to me, that sounds like we've been talking about it pretty much on all the podcasts, about the problem with the offense, except when you get late in the game. It seems like they can put the big swing on the ball when they need to.
Right. Because it's not, I mean, when you look tonight, I don't know if you're aware of this, the Yankees and the Dodgers tonight are playing, and Ohtani and Judge exchanged first inning
homers.
You've got 6 MVPs on the field, 6 former MVPs on one field. There's a lot of Hall of Famers that might be on that field.
Oh yeah.
And the reason why I mention that is the Astros don't have the prowess of the home run ball this year.
Right.
And they're doing it without it. Yordan is hopefully going to come back this series. He took live BP today. He took a couple out of the park, which is nice for him to see. And I noticed he has the axe handle bat. I'm wondering, does he need to change handles? Could the axe handle be the problem?
Well, I mean, the whole idea of the axe handle, it's got, I talked to Josh Reddick about this, and, I understand the theory a little bit. Supposedly it's supposed to help you with the hammock bone. Does it? I don't know. I mean, to tell you the truth, if it really was that extraordinary, then wouldn't everybody do it? Wouldn't everybody have it?
That's what I'm thinking. Because
is it more psychological? I don't know. Hey, if it works, it works. That's all that matters.
But you see him swinging. If you could get Alvarez back, and you could get Altuve, all the home runs he's hit, recently, just hitting the cover off the ball. But Mike, do you think that how do I say this? I'm not trying to make an absolute statement here. But is it almost imperative that the long ball becomes more a part of their game throughout the season going into the playoffs, because the way they're going now, it's like you're wishing and hoping a lot, but you want more definitive results. Do you understand my question?
The problem with trying to win without the long ball on a consistent basis is the fact that with the way pitchers are throwing so hard and the max spin rate and everybody's got, deep bullpens and all that kind of stuff. The problem is, stringing hits together, 3 or 4 hits together every single night to try and score, 4 or 5 runs, without the ball being driven out of the ballpark. That's why the home run has been so vital in Major League Baseball, not just the Astros, but the Astros,
Exactly.
you go back to the championship years, these dudes could hit the ball out of the ballpark. Is it a necessity? I don't know if you'd say it's a necessity, but it's pretty close to it, just simply because, it's just so hard to score. And that's been a big issue with the Astros, having 30 games that they have not scored at least 4 runs. They just don't have the power right now to drive the ball out of the ballpark. And listen, some of the guys the team has gotten off to a slow start. I mean, we talked about Yainer earlier in the show. He's got 6 home runs now. He hasn't done a whole lot. He has gotten his batting average up to 241, which is about league average now, by the way. So it is creeping in the right direction. His OPS is still well below big league average, even though he has been better here in May. It's just one of those things. They have not had the power from the guys you expect the power from. And this was a top-heavy lineup to start off with, even with those guys healthy and in the lineup.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know where the Astros will be at the end of the season. I do know, like I have a crystal ball. I believe that the Mariners at some point will find a level plane and kind of plateau a little bit, because they typically always do. Now, maybe this is a different year. Cal Riley in Seattle's having an MVP type season. The guy is just absolutely obliterating the baseball. And that offense is performing to where a lot of Seattle fans have wanted them to perform for the last several years. The question remains, can they sustain it to the end of the season? The Astros are in an incredibly weak division. Let's just call it what it is. While the other 2 divisions in the AL, the Red Sox are kind of having their issues, but the Central with the Detroit Tigers, 38-20, Mike, is massive. The Yankees 35-20. I mean, the Yankees have a 7-game lead. The Tigers have a 6.5-game lead. The Astros and Mariners are tied right now. If the Mariners win, they're still up by half game.
Yeah, the Mariners are winning right now against the Twins 4-2 in the bottom of the 6. So, as we speak right this moment, it's a dead heat.
Dead heat, and that's the thing. And the Astros have scored 27 more runs than they've given up. The Mariners have only scored 12 runs more than they've given up. Yeah. So their pitching's been there, but their hitting has kind of matched what their pitching gives up. So at the end of the year, what it's going to come down to is if the Astros can make it into a deep run in the American League and they can beat the Tigers or the Yankees, the top 2 teams, and get to the World Series, are they going to be able to compete with someone like the Dodgers?
Once you get there, you never know.
True.
I mean, the hardest part of the season is the regular season. That's the marathon. That's the 162,
especially with injuries.
But once you get into the dance, anything can happen. We've seen it, many, many, many times over the years that you would say, the team that won the World Series definitely was not the best team, but they got hot. And that's really what, even with the expanded playoffs like we have in Major League Baseball now, the key is getting hot. If you get hot, you got a chance. And
so I found
it's just a matter of getting into the show there in October.
So I found this out. When teams are in the playoff picture now, with the dawn of the wild card and all that stuff, after Memorial Day, 75% of those teams make the playoffs. So most of the teams that are squarely in the top 3 wild card spots or in the division leads, for the most part, 3 or 4 are going to make the playoffs this year. So the odds are ever in the Astros' favor. They have to stay healthy. You hope that when Arrighetti comes back, whether that's July or whatever, he does well. But we talked about Lance McCullers Jr. Let's wrap.
We have
up.
not. We have
not talked about. I want to ask you what. Okay, someone tried to discredit it. Oh, it's the Oakland A's or it's the Sacramento A's.
There's nothing wrong with the Oakland A's.
I'm like, I don't care. They also have Jack Wilson, who strikes out the least amount of anybody in baseball. They got Lawrence Butler, who's a stud. They've got Brent Rooker. I mean, they're a talented young team. They have rebuilt that thing very quickly. They can hit,
and you can't just throw your hat out there and expect to beat them.
But 12 Ks, Mike, for Lance, he tied a career high.
Yeah.
If I would have asked you in December, do you think, if I would have said, Mike, do you see Lance McCullers in May getting 12 strikeouts in a victory in a major league game? Do you think you would have said yes or no? Of course, no. I know,
I would not have. I would be completely honest. And here's my view on Lance going into the season is, anything you get from him is just a bonus because because he's missed so much. I mean, you got to remember, this dude still has yet to pitch a full season in Major League Baseball.
That's true.
That's true. With everything that's happened, the 2 surgeries, I mean, all the setbacks and everything, you couldn't count on him to do it. And to tell you the truth, I don't think you can count on him going forward. It's great to see him back on the mound. I know he has worked his butt off to keep himself in shape. And there has to have been just countless times that he's like, this just simply isn't going to happen. I know it's been hard on his family. This is a tough situation. And for him to get back and to have the success he's had, I'm going to say it. It's a little remarkable. I mean, especially the last couple starts. He had the first start that he pitched pretty well.
Right.
I think it was 4 1/3 shutout. Pitch count got up. I looked at his pitch breakdown and I'm like, where's the breaking ball? He threw mostly change-ups. There were some, and change-ups and fastballs. He
threw the knuckle curve. He threw
a few times, but it wasn't prolific.
Right.
And then he had the career worst start, 7 earnings in a third.
Right.
Again, you look at the breakdown. I'm like, okay, I was questioning if he was healthy, just simply because. Where is old Lance McCullers that it's, slider, curve, slider, curve, slider, then after that start, okay, now all of a sudden you started to see the numbers where you expect them to be. 2 starts ago, what was it? 19% fastballs, 43% sliders. His last time out with the 12 strikeouts, which by the way, ties a career high, pitches, a strong 6 innings. What was it? 40% sliders. The knuckle curve was outstanding.
Yeah, knuckle curve was 22.
Yeah, 22.
Yeah, 22. He threw 102 pitches.
Yeah.
And get this, of his 18 swings and misses, 10 were on the knuckle curve.
Yeah. So the knuckle curve was outstanding. This is the Lance McCullers that we expect to see. Just simply because he spins the ball. That's what he does. What has been one of his biggest issues is fastball command. He has never really had fastball command. He's always had to spin the ball to get the ball in the strike zone. That's who he is. And I'm fine with that. But I just did those first couple starts. I'm like, is he right? Because we weren't seeing him use the breaking ball. We didn't see the same arsenal as in the past. The last 2 games, we've seen old Lance McCullers. Fastball isn't quite what it used to be, but he is spinning the ball like crazy. And we know that the reason everybody throws breaking balls is because, big league hitters hit fastballs.
Well, and I don't know if you recall. I think I shared this with you at one time when we asked Lance what was the most hilarious thing that the conversation him and Zach Greinke had, and he said, "Hey, you know that 4-seam fastball that you're trying to throw?" Lance is like, "Yeah." He's like, "How do I fix it?" He goes, "Don't." He goes, "Don't throw it. You're terrible at it."
He is. He is.
And there for a while. Like, that's why I was surprised.
That's why. Well,
Right.
He was trying to throw a 4-seamer. This was before he got hurt.
Right.
And it was okay, but he really still couldn't command it. So what him and Strami did was, okay, let's just throw 2-seamers and try and rely on a little bit more movement. Still didn't know where the ball was going. And listen, at this point, that's not who he is. He's going to throw just enough fastballs to try and keep the hitters honest. He is going to attack with multiple breaking balls. The crazy thing is the breaking balls really aren't all that different. The slider and the curve, they're really not all. There's a little bit of a difference. There's not much of a speed variance. There's really not even that much of a difference in the shape of the break. But I'll tell you what, this last 2 times out, he has been very effective, and it's good to see, and the Astros need as much pitching as they can get right now, because the offense, to tell you the truth, what you kind of asked a rhetorical question about what the Astros need going forward into the season. Yordan Alvarez needs to come back and be healthy. And Yordan Alvarez needs to be an MVP caliber player. I don't think this run that they've had with 30, again, I'm going to say the stat, 30 games of scoring 3 runs or fewer, I don't know if that's sustainable with them. I think they need to have a little more offense, and it may be Yordan is the guy.
And look, I'm excited. I love where this team's at. I'm glad that they're not digging a hole like they did last year at this time. That's a whole lot more stressful, and they don't really have the horses in the barn, to use a Mike Stanton reference. They don't have the horses in the stable, I think, like they used to. And so they're having to play a lot of small ball. They're having to kind of create wins. But at the end of the day, this team, I think, is going to be battle tested. And if they can figure out how to put the ball over the fence more, as long as the bullpen can stay healthy. Look, the bullpen had that stinker of an outing. I mean, everybody got tagged. Brian King got tagged. Ort got tagged. Whitley got tagged. They all just had a bad night.
You have a bad day. And luckily it was, to tell you the truth, luckily it was all in one game.
That's true.
Get all that out in one game. It's only one loss, because a lot of times, you space those out, and now all of a sudden, you do it over a week, and you might have 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 losses. Get all the bad ones out in one.
There you go.
And then Framber, give them the night off by Anthos CG.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Mike, this has been great, man. Thanks for sitting in with me again. I always love the conversations. That's why I have you here with me, because your experience and your knowledge of the game is impeccable. So thank you so much for joining us. Everybody's staying up late with the Back to the Bullpen late night edition. Y'all have a good one. We'll definitely be back here soon in a few days, and hopefully we'll be talking about more Astros wins. Y'all have a good one.
Adios.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat low in the way, you can't hit it. You know you want to start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike 2, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike 3, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool.